Hello there, my name is Michael Maynard and welcome back to Gorilla Picking. Now, what we are going to do today, folks, is a fairly long review. This is going to be about a 20-minute video, folks, and I appreciate that not everybody's going to want to see the whole 20 minutes. That's fine, I can live with that. What we are going to do, though, is review this kit in great detail. It is a thing called the Multipick Elite Dual Gauge Kit. It is about 160 to 170 bucks US, depending on where you get it, and it is absolutely fantastic. It is easily, hands down, the best kit that I have ever seen. But I appreciate that if you are spending 160 US dollars on a set of lockpicks, you want to know what you're getting and you want to know why it's good. You want to know its pros, its cons, you want to know its weak points. You want to know everything about it, basically. So what I'm going to do here is the definitive review on this. There have been another couple of reviews done. They have been a little bit of a once over lightly thing, okay? So what I'm going to do here is take a lot of time to go through what we have got. So what have we got? Well, the key is in the name. We have got a kit that has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different picks, each of which are presented in 2 thicknesses. Now, with one exception, and that's that pick here, which I'll come to later on. With that one exception, what Multipick have done is made exactly the same shape in 25 thou and 15 thou. So that's 0.6 of a mil and 0.4 of a mil for those of us that think about these things in metric. And it is an absolute genius idea because, as I'm sure you guys know, when you get good with one shape, quite often when you swap to a different thickness of that shape, the pick just doesn't perform the same. And the classic example of this is the Peterson Gem. Now, the Peterson Gem is available in 3 different thicknesses, and all those 3 different thicknesses are such different shapes that they are literally 3 different picks. Now, what Multipick have done here, on the other hand, is got absolutely identical shapes in these 2 thicknesses, which means once you get good with the 25 thou version, you can then stick the 15 thou version in a much more complicated, narrower keyway with paracentricity, all that sort of stuff, and it will perform exactly the same. It's such a good idea, and I don't know why anybody else hasn't done it. But honestly, they have done a beautiful, beautiful job of it. Now, before we go through all the pick shapes themselves, I just want to take a minute to show you this instrument here. Now, what this thing is a key extractor, and it is, if I can ever frame it properly, it is simply for getting broken keys out of keyways. So it's only available in the 1 thickness. I don't really need to say much more about it than that, but what I do want to do is use it to show you the quality of the way that this thing has been put together. It is absolutely beautiful. That is a precision-made German tool, and I was trying to think of ways to compare the Multipick stuff with the stuff from other countries, because, as you know, I am a huge fan of the Sparrow stuff. Okay, I love the Sparrow stuff. All right, but honestly, it's like trying to compare a budget Ford, for example, to a Mercedes Benz. That's the only kind of comparison I can make. The quality of this is so much better than anything else I've used, actually. That, you know, nothing else compares. The handles are absolutely rigid. The feedback that you get through these things, and particularly through the 15 thou versions with those handles, is absolutely mind-boggling. So, having told you all about the quality, let's now think about the pick shapes themselves. Now, I'm just going to pause the video for a sec here, guys, so that I can get these things out and distribute them on the table. So give me a second here. Okay, so the first ones we're going to have a look at are the Rakes. Now, these are, again, everything is in 25 and 15. At the top here, you will see a snake rake. That works very, very well. I really like that pick. So I really don't have too much more to say about that. If you know how to use a snake rake, those are fantastic. Now this next group of 4, those are triple peaks. And the sort of thing that often gets called a wave rake or a bogatar. Now this is one little quibble that I have with this set. I do think that these picks are just too similar to each other. Okay, I think that they should have picked one of these 2 shapes, let's say this one here, and simply included that in the kit and got rid of that one there. I can't see an advantage to having it, to be honest. For my money, if I was putting this kit together myself, I would actually have substituted these either for half diamonds in 2 different thicknesses, or maybe a half diamond and a medico hook, you know, with a little notch on the end, instead of these 2. So it is a little bit of a weakness, guys. It is a little bit of a duplication, okay, but I can sort of see why they put the thing in there. All right, now this one here, this is sometimes called a kinetic rake, sometimes called a zip. It is used for zipping locks in competitions. Now, in Europe in particular, getting locks open very quickly in competitions is a very good skill to have. And what they will sometimes, well no, what they will very often do is ram this into the lock, and then as soon as somebody says go, they will rip it out. And about one time in maybe 4 or 5, that will get you an instantaneous open, so less than a second to open the lock. In competition, that's very, very useful indeed. So I reckon those 6 picks there, so 3 each of the different thicknesses, obviously. I think those are absolutely brilliant. And I think those ones there are a little bit redundant, in all honesty. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, now this for me is where it gets interesting, because I am much more of a single pin picker than I am of a raker. Now, if these shapes look a bit familiar, it is because they are the SS Dev shapes, or based on them anyway, as designed by the SS Dev pickers in Germany. And probably the best way to think of these is as a DeForest diamond pair at the top here. We'll talk more about those in a second, okay? And then here are the SS Dev picks, which are basically, when you get right down to it, short, medium and steep hooks, okay? And again, I emphasize, apart from one exception, which is this pair here, all of those picks are the same in the 25 and the 15 thou. So as a beginner, if you get good with the, let's say, 25 thou version of that hook there, then when you move on to more difficult locks, you have got exactly that shape ready to go in the 15 thou, and you can just move straight across to it. It's brilliant, it really is. Now, I think I've said enough about those, okay, so I don't think you need to know much more about those, but I really do want to talk about these 2 here, because they demonstrate something that I think is one of this set's great strengths. These are the 2 DeForest diamonds. Now, in the 25 thousandths version, this one here, it's virtually indestructible, okay. A beginner could stick that in a big wide open American style keyway, so the sort of thing that you see on a quick set, or you know, those sort of ones, and be picking that the minute he or she gets this kit. Now its skinnier brother here, that's the 15 thousandths, is very, very much more flexible and more fragile. Now, of course, as a beginner, you don't want to use this, okay? So if you're a beginner and you're looking for your first set and you're watching this this review, I'd hugely encourage you to buy it, okay? But don't start using this, the narrow one, until you've mastered some locks and you know what you're doing. On the other hand, the feedback that you get with this thing here in 15 thousandths is absolutely incredible. It beats any other hook of its shape that I have ever tried. And again, that goes back to the fact that the pick goes right the way down to the end of the handle, and then we have got the two metal bits spot welded on there to make this handle rigid. The feedback through that for an advanced picker, you honestly guys, you won't believe what you get out of that. Now the other hook that I want to talk about in some detail is this one here. So this is in the 25 thousandths version, a fairly standard sort of a medium hook. All right, so if I hold that up to the camera, you know, it looks pretty standard, okay? Now, what they've done with the 15 thousandths version here is genius. And I will tell you for an absolute fact, this has become my favourite hook out of the whole kit in the few weeks that I've been using this thing. If I'd known about this before I knew about the Tron, I think this would probably be my default hook. What they have done, they have scalloped an extra little bit out of the top of the shank here. Now the shanks on these things are incredibly narrow anyway, so really skinny, so that you can get them into very tight keyways with very difficult warding. But in addition to that, they've taken a bit of metal out of the top here, and what that does, that lets this hook deal with more aggressive bitting than it otherwise would. So it's kind of turned a sort of a medium to steep hook into a shallow to medium hook into a medium to steep hook, just by taking away that little bit of extra metal so you can sneak up under some pins. Just a beautiful idea. I don't know why anybody else hasn't done it. The Tron comes kind of close to it, but nowhere near as well executed as that. So that's the hooks, guys. Now let's have a look at the turning tools. And I know turning tools are a little bit boring, okay, but there are a couple of things that I want to show you about those as well. Here are the bottom of the keyway ones. The standout one is this one. It has had the end narrowed down there so you can get it into more difficult keyways. This thing with the Rakes in 15 thousandths is absolutely deadly. God, it's good. So that is a great tool to have in the arsenal. And then when we are talking about the top of the keyway tools, I'll just leave them in here really, because there's probably not a lot of point in showing you all of them. They come in 4 different thicknesses, so we've got 0.6, 0.8, 1 and 1.2 mils. This one here, honestly, for me, is a little bit redundant. I'm not entirely sure what I would do with that I couldn't do with one of these. For me, I think maybe I'd prefer a Z-bar, so a tension tool for dimple locks. And these two things here are designed for German mailboxes, post office boxes, and for me they've got no use at all. So these three here for me are a little bit of a waste of material. Again, I think I would prefer maybe a dimple tension tool instead. Now, one other little feature that I noticed on these ones, and I haven't seen this on any other top of the keyway tool actually. So let's, okay, that's a pretty standard top of the keyway tool. You've got a shorter end and a longer end, and you've got serrations on both ends, so good for gripping keyways. But one thing I've noticed with these is that the ends are slightly different widths. So you'll see that this dimension here, that one there, is slightly wider than the other end. There's about 0.4 mils difference roughly between those two. And what I found is that let me accurately grip some keyways that I was otherwise having trouble with. So if it didn't work on one end, then you swapped it around and it did work on the other. So there we have the contents of the kit, guys, and what I'd like to do now is think about who this kit would be good for. I reckon there are 3 markets for this, okay? So first of all, we have got tradesmen. This multipick have been supplying lockpicking tools to the locksmithing trade for decades. These are tradesmen's tools, no doubt about it. In terms of hobby pickers, I think this would be excellent for a beginner. Look, honestly, when you're buying beginning kits, okay, you do tend to buy a cheap one first, and I get that, right? You want to spend 30 or 40 US bucks. If, on the other hand, you can stretch to a much better kit, this thing here will take you from rank beginner to absolutely experienced advanced lock picking with just the one set. There are very few locks that you couldn't get into with this, and as I say, if you added a Medico pick and a half diamond, I don't think there'd be any locks, seriously, that were pickable that you could not get into with this thing. And the third group are advanced pickers who want everything in one hit. So for me, actually, I'm beginning to think that that's actually quite a good idea. My kit has been built up over some years, and I've got you know, some Sparrow stuff, and I've got some Peterson stuff, and I've got some homemade stuff, and I've got a Southall one there for some reason. You know, I've got a whole lot of different bits and pieces. As an advanced picker, it really is good to have everything from one manufacturer in one kit in one place. And trust me when I tell you guys, Multipick have done it with this set. No doubt about that. So, couple more things before I close here. First of all, thank you for listening to me rant on about this thing. I know I'm enthusiastic about it. And I know that this has been a long video, but I really do think it has been worth me putting the time into putting this together, and you guys listening to it, because it really is an important kit in my view. So thank you for your time listening to this. I'd love to know what you think, so put your comments below. Secondly, I would encourage you to buy this thing. If you're in Europe, then obviously Multipick is the place to get it. For the rest of the world, then I'd buy my stuff from Pick Pals in Australia, as you know. This comes into the Pick Pals free shipping category, so they will ship it anywhere in the world free. And as you guys know, I personally like Pick Pals. They've supplied me with an awful lot of stuff over the years, and I think you could do much worse than buy this thing off of those guys. And finally, I'd like to know from any of you guys that already have this kit what you like about it and what you don't. So you guys that have used it like I have and have, you know, figured out its pros and cons, please leave some feedback below so that not only I can read that, but Multipick can as well, to make future iterations of this kit better. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, I'm grateful that you stuck with me for 20 minutes. My name's Michael Maynard. This is Gorilla Picking, and that is the Multipick, what do they call it? The Multipick dual gauge kit. Thanks, guys.